Put your face on.
Mask is on.
You're a little blurry though.
Am I blurry?
Hold
on, let me see if I can adjust my lighting on this thingy. That's too bright. I'm all washed out.
I think we are live, so just so you know. All right, I'm gonna play the intro and then we will be right back. Where the hell's the thing?
Ready to go?
Here we go. Intro.
With your hosts, Wayne Noon, Greg Narlow, and Lou Max.
What's up? Welcome back to Rat Salad Review. I'm the only one from that intro on the show right now, which is amazing.
I don't know why you don't have an intro for me, because I'm on like every other fucking week. You might as well just make me part of your show too.
I should. Maybe I'll put.
But today is not about me.
sometimes.
Today is about these two fellers down here. Take it away. It's your show, Wayne.
Ooh, I don't know. You want to just keep doing the whole show? Today we are joined by the band Emissary, vocalist Jim Harris, and guitarist Tim Dahlen, if I'm pronouncing that correctly.
Correct. Nicely done. Most people don't get that.
Yeah, usually I'm very terrible at getting names, so I'm very proud of myself for getting that.
Thanks for having us.
Yeah, thanks for coming on the show, and thanks to Mr. Unknown from Timeless Haunt.
This is all Jim. So this is all Jim. Jim calls me and says, "Oh, dude, you got to crash the show." So I was like, "All right, I'll come up I go to bed at 9 o'clock and get up early, but fuck it. I like Jim and I fucking love Emissary, so I had to come on."
Very cool. I was wondering, how did you get to know Jim?
Jim?
Yeah.
How do I know you?
I was in another band called Silent Storm, and we got to know each other that way. Had some folks in common in the business, and the guy that produced our last record, The Fire Never Dies, he did the remastering or did some work for a band that Unknown was involved with.
But we won't.
Yes. Yeah. So that was and then just through Facebook, like, hey,
and we're label mates.
Yeah,
that's true too. Yeah.
We're label mates through a record company.
Yeah. Well, Emissary is on Underground Power. We're on Underground Power Records out of Germany, and we're doing we actually printed up our own cassettes. So we got cassettes through that are just indie, and then Underground Power is doing the vinyl and the CD, and we do all our own digital.
Yep.
Oh, that's cool. How'd you get hooked up with Underground Power?
Through the what's that? Yeah, it was a cool
story. Yeah, Jim.
Well, we got Silent Storm was on a record label called Stormspell, and folks over at Stormspell said that they had that Underground Power did some of their releases, put them out on vinyl or whatever, and then so we kind of were acquainted a little bit that way. But then we when we reformed in 2021, I think it was, right, Tim?
Either late 2020 or 2021. I think we started talking in 2020, but yeah, 2021, I would say.
Yeah, I just put a message out on Facebook saying, hey, if we got back together to maybe re-record some of the old demos, or do a reunion show, would anybody care? And immediately I got a message from Underground Power saying, if you guys do a new record, I want to put it out. So we said, hey, got label interest, and we started recording the new record and announced that we were doing that. And then of course we got hit up by 4 other labels, that wanted to do it. It's like, we already have an agreement with Underground Power, and they've been really cool with us. So
definitely.
Wow.
We got 2 people joined us here right now. RJ L. Harris says greetings, and Timeless Bass. I don't know who that is.
Who's that?
But, yeah, he's watching as well. I don't know. No idea who that could be. So thank you guys for coming on the show. Now, I was reading your little bio. I've never heard of you guys, by the way. I only know Jim. I only know you through Unknown here. And Tim, I have no idea who you are at all.
That's fine. Nobody does.
But listening to your new album, which we'll talk about in a little while, the new album's awesome, by the way. I really, really like it.
Thank you.
And I'm going through your bio, and I'm seeing that you guys really started in like the early 90s.
Yeah. So when 93, I think was when Tim and I hooked up. And
yep.
And I usually, there's a little caveat. I reused a band name from an old band that I was in '89 back in Vegas. So when people kind of attach that to us, it's sort of the Dawkins story, like, does anybody really think that there was a Dawkins before there was a Dawkins? I mean, there was, but everybody considers, the Breaking the Chains lineup, like the real Dawkins. Nobody thinks about that shit from like the 70s that, Don Dawkins and his buddies were playing like in living rooms or whatever. It was called Dawkins. They had a song called, Paris is Burning, but it wasn't the same song, and so it's kind of like that. I call it the pilot episode. When you see a pilot episode of your favorite show and it's like they didn't have it completely worked out yet, like, it's Three's Company, but like Chrissy's a redhead and she's smart or whatever. You watch the pilot episodes years later and you're like, what were they thinking, or whatever.
Yeah. I mean, Fleetwood Mac did that too, and like even Journey, that old Journey stuff. You're never gonna hear the original Journey stuff on the radio until they put out Escape and all that, and Fleetwood Mac too. I mean, some of the diehard blues guys liked the old Fleetwood Mac before the girls were in the band, but before Rumors came out, they were a completely different band. So so just like that.
Yeah, so we say we're the original Emissary because it's the stuff from Vegas was just a garage band that kind of doesn't really matter. I wrote some of the lyrics that we reused later and had the logo, the band name and the logo. And when Tim and I met, we started working songs out, and it turned out where he really liked the band name and logo, so we just reused that. But yeah, this band, the real Emissary, started in '93.
So your style of writing is, and I'm not trying to drop my band's name here, but is very similar, not maybe in a style, but in a sense that you feel that you don't need to overplay the instrument to write a good song. Your music is well written. And could you elaborate a little bit more on that and why you do that? Do you do it purposely? Is it conscious, or is it just the way it's written?
I mean, it's probably partially. When I was writing the Emissary stuff with Jim, I mean, I don't know how much he remembers of this, but I'm sure he remembers some of it. I was literally reading guitar books and going to this small guitar or music shop in Medford, and I was getting lessons. And I went to this guy after I met Jim, and I went to this guy and I was like, hey, can you show me how to play some kind of a scale or something? I can do this stuff, but I want to be able to do some of that stuff. And he showed me, the pentatonic scale. And then I was like, oh my God, just like open this door for me. Oh my, I didn't know that there were patterns and ways to, you're in this key, so do this. So, I will say, I will defend myself with the non super shredding stuff. I mean, I can play fast. I can't play all over the neck fast. I can't do what our other guitar player can do necessarily, but I was a big Chris DeGarmo guy. And although I'm not I won't say that Pink Floyd's one of my favorite bands, I will say that the way that David Gilmour played, I want you to be able to hum my solos. I don't want to play 1,000 miles an hour. In some spots, I do the appropriate quick stuff, but and I can get up and down the neck. But I was really learning how to play when Jim and I met. And I remember, again, I had these guitar chord books sitting around. I was like, did you know that I can play the D minor chord up here now? And just learning all the stuff that just totally light bulb for me. And probably my favorite band ever is Rush. So I take some of the old Alex Lifeson stuff and like just Xanadu and just early stuff, 2112. And I kind of just, when I started learning Alex Lifeson chords, I later came back to some of the metal stuff and I was like, oh, this stuff's really kind of not easy, but not as hard to play as the Alex Lifeson chord stuff. You think Alex is doing power chords, but he's not. He's doing crazy stuff. And so I really wanted to learn that and be good enough at that. And then, but my favorite, I always went back to the growing up in the Bay Area. It was really the Bay Area thrash stuff, going and being able to see Exodus in little clubs and Metallica in small clubs before Master came out, and Death Angel and all of those bands from there. All that riffing is the stuff that I was like, that's the stuff that moves me. The Dave Mustaine stuff that he wrote, just the rhythmic stuff over the shreddy stuff is really what kind of turned me on. And then it was really probably Chris DeGarmo from Queensryche that I would hear his solos and hum along with them. And Dave Menacheni from YNT2, he would do something in a solo, and then he would do the same thing and add a note, and then the same thing and add 2 notes, kind of like Neil Peart does with his fills. He'll do something and then something a little extra, but the same thing. So I took those things and I adopted them. So I like to do some stuff and have a reason. I need to have a reason where I'm going in a song, solo wise. I rarely will just, okay, we're recording, go, and I'll do a solo. That one wasn't as good. Let's try a different one and then do something different. I kind of map it out and do it that way. Although again, a lot of people in our genre probably technically can do some stuff that I just would not be able to do. So I try and hide that. Hide the fact that I can't do it, because our other guitar player can definitely, he's going to blow people's minds when they see him live.
But you don't you don't need to do it. That reminds me of an Ozzy quote that, play me a guitar, but don't play me something that's going to impress Steve Vai or Malmsteen. Yeah. Play me something that's going to make a kid want to pick up his guitar.
100%.
That to me is what you guys do and what you're very good at. That. So you songwriting. I love your songwriting. I love the catchiness to it.
Thank you.
I like that it's not over the top, but you can tell the skill is there. You definitely got, you guys definitely know what the hell you're doing.
Yeah,
Jim's got a great voice on him, but he doesn't overuse it, and I like that.
Yep.
All right.
Thank you. I appreciate that. Yeah, I think really it's just a matter of, you get to a point where and I'll say, like, in my last band, in Silent Storm, the songs where we really were doing stuff that was technical and layers and talked about, like, oh, I'll do the minor third here and this harmony, blah, blah, blah. Like, you can work all that shit out, and people don't necessarily like it any more than the simple thing that you came up with. So it's like a simple, straightforward, rhythm, punchy, good, catchy rhythm is a lot of times more effective,
that's because
than something that's,
most people aren't musicians. That's why.
Right.
Obviously.
Yeah, sure. Yeah. And and they don't know. And when we were writing, I really glob onto other bands. I'll be honest. I do. I glob onto, okay, I'm really into this now, so I'm going to write some stuff. And Death Angel was a band that the vocal switched a lot. There was the backing, and I'm a huge Kiss fan too. And I like other singers. But so when Jim and I were going back and forth, like, we would do a thing where, okay, I'm going to sing the part of the pre-chorus, and then you sing. Instead of just doing a harmony, we would switch vocals back and forth. And also I kept that in mind when we were writing, just because I wanted to be able to do it live. In Solitude's a song on the album that was one of the tougher ones, because I'm switching patches at the same time, going from clean to dirty. And then while I'm doing that, I'm doing the singing the pre-chorus, and then Jim comes in and we kind of trail each other. And so when we were writing it that way. And so I kind of had to simplify some parts too later as we were writing, knowing I'm going to do some of the singing. So yeah, there are a lot of reasons, but Jim and I, like, we wrote together so well. I mean, that's why we're together now after all of these years without us becoming huge and famous. And that's why a band has lasted 30 years or something. We didn't last that whole time, but every time we've worked together, it's always been, okay, we finish each other's sentences musically. So that really worked out. And yeah, and I think whether it's simple or not, it's stuff that I want you to be able to hum it and be able to digest it. Tool's great. They're super talented, but I can listen to only so much. And then people say back to me, it's like, wait a minute, dude, you're a Rush fan. And I'm like, yeah, that's different. I don't know why. I can't explain why. And I can listen to Crest of Steel and Hemispheres and all of that and digest that. But I think that's just built into my DNA now because I've been listening since like 4th grade. But I don't want you to have to think too hard. And when Disturbed came out, they taught me a lot for the later, even though they're not newer, they're still newer in my head. And they just kind of went straight forward, straight at you rhythmically. Everything was rhythmic. The guitar work isn't over the top. Some of the drumming is really cool and a lot of good double bass and technical stuff. But that's the stuff that speaks to me. So it's natural for it to come out of me. And then Jim, is exactly the same way when our puzzle pieces kind of fit together in our writing.
I'm just blown away that you said the band is 30 years old because Jim doesn't look like he's 30 years old himself. I mean, you look fucking great, dude. How old are you? Like 60?
I'm 50. I'll be 51 this year. Yeah.
Hey, you look good for your age, man. Shit.
It's all the
Wayne's
it's
only
all the
20.
fast food. The preservatives. Preserve me. Junk food. Yeah.
I wish I could do that.
Well, no, what? Well, how old are you? Really? Unknown. How old are you?
999. That's what my
You don't-
Facebook profile says. I'm 46.
I thought you were 69.
69.
You're 46.
I'm
See,
only
and you don't look a
69.
day over 47. So,
Thanks.
I mean, not like we can tell,
Yeah,
with the mask and the
I'm
hood.
smart. I did the kiss thing.
He takes that shit off. He's probably looks like he's 15,
Yeah, probably.
Oh, that's too funny. But you just talked about Dahlen. You did play a show with Dahlen very early on. How was that? Did you get to meet them or anything? Or talk to Don Dahlen or anything? Or
I didn't, but some of our band did. The only time that I had any interaction with him, Tim's got a funny story, or he can either tell it or not. But my only reaction was we had to walk through their dressing room to get our gear out. Like that was to the back door. And as we walked through, Don and George were on opposite sides of the room, sitting at 2 different tables. And as we walked through, they looked up, kind of made eye contact, and both of them went like, they looked away in opposite directions, like almost like, don't talk to me, please. I don't want you to talk to me, kind of. And but Jeff was cool. Hey, you guys are awesome, man. He held the door for us, and he was really cool. Mick, I didn't even, I think Mick was late to the sound check. He was probably,
he didn't even want to come in. Yeah, he didn't even want to come in. Our friend had to get up and do the sound check. Anybody out there play drums? And a friend of ours that
my drum tech.
Drum tech got up and said, okay. And he's he's kind of a smaller guy like me. And he's on this giant kit. We almost didn't play that show because of the size of that kit. He had these like cannon kick drums that went literally to the end of the thing. And literally I had to crawl around the back to get to my spot when the lights went out. And I'm like, okay, I had to walk around this thing because I could not get over to my bass player because that was in the way. And they even said to us, I'm not sure if you guys are going to be able to play after like they're using half our gear too. It was like,
oh my God.
Okay, I'll just go take my board back and see how you guys can do acoustic. But with that same story, I had their dressing room was upstairs. You had to walk up some stairs. So I was walking up the stairs, I don't know. I was going to the back. And as I walk up the stairs, like my head gets up to the point where you can see the level now. And it gets up one more and Lynch is there completely naked facing me. Like literally. And I'm just like, it was one of the worst moments at that moment. I didn't know like, should I have hooked him up or should I have just like said sorry and walked back down? I did finish going up and I just walked by and kind of acted like I wasn't looking, but it was an odd, fucking very odd moment for me. And I'm blushing now because it was a good story. And interestingly enough, I grew up working in I'm not going to say where I really worked, but I better say where I worked or else
go ahead.
Bad that I was around a bunch of naked guys, but I worked for a pro football team and I growing up. And so I was always in the locker room and I was a little guy. So everybody was walking around naked about where my head is. So I was kind of used to being in awkward situations not looking at stuff and acting like I don't see anything. Let me just grab your underwear and your jock strap and I'll get out of your way. And then, but it reminded me of that for sure. But I was like, and then what my brain does, I'm like, fuck, dude, that's George fucking Lynch, dude. Because I remember going and seeing the Doc and Dio tour when Tooth and Nail came out, which is like one of my all-time favorite albums of all time. And so you go to arenas and you see these bands that you worship, and there was more mystery back then with bands. Kiss, before they took off the makeup, you didn't know what they looked like. You didn't know if Ozzy was evil, and you didn't know if Blackie Lawless really did things, or did Gene Simmons really bite things and bleed because of it, or step on puppies. So there was so much mystery back then that's what made the concert so cool. So going to arenas and seeing these bands, and now we're in the same room with them, and I'm super grateful that it was the original members. And I know Juan was originally the bass player, but to me, Jeff Bilson is the original bass player. And it was that was really cool that we got to be a part of a show with all the original guys. And I was waiting for them to play my favorite song, and they did not play it that night, which really upset me, which is Just Got Lucky, which was surprising. But I did remember looking down at that show, looking down, knowing that I'm standing in George Lynch's spot for the first 45 minutes of the night, and looking over at his pedal system. And he had this old beat up, I'm this new guitar player trying to be all fancy. So I had all this MIDI stuff set up by this guitar tech at Musician's Friend. And his name's Mike Tunn. And he just set up all my MIDI, and it's all just flashing lights. And then George Lynch had this like rotting piece of wood with all these Boss pedals nailed to it. And I mean, it worked out great, obviously, for him. But it for me, that was one of those moments of you feel like you made it. And I remember having a moment with Jim backstage. Our backstage consisted of a little room that had some empty kegs in it. And on top of the keg was a bowl of Tums and some Imodium AD shots, because my stomach doesn't do well. I still get nervous. I've played on stage now. I'm in a couple tribute bands, and I've played in cover bands, and I play a lot, but I still get exactly the same nervous every single night I play. And I just remember back then just sucking on Tums, and we were just like, but I remember Jim and I kind of, we had the same past to a degree in the 80s of our love for it, and go like, here's our moment. This is the one we've worked up to. So definitely that Dawkins show was, I don't remember it. I remember one thing. I remember people singing our lyrics, and then I remember throwing a pick out and having people that I don't know go down to get it, because they don't know that I'm just going to go home after that show to my normal house in Medford and clean the cat litter and do all of those things. They think I'm some kind of hey, they're playing with Dawkins. They must be kind of an up and coming cool rock band. So, so those moments were the ones that will always stick with me. And since then, I've opened for bands and stuff and done that. But that was the greatest, definitely, moment yet. That we worked hard. Jim and I worked hard putting that together in a small town.
I'm sorry, I mean, cut you off. You guys recently
I'm done.
You guys recently did a pretty big show with Tesla a couple months back, right? How was that?
Yeah, that
was like at the beginning of the pandemic almost.
Was it?
Well, middle of the pandemic.
I thought it was
really.
Wow.
Yeah.
We kind of thought that the pandemic was winding down about that point, and it was interesting because we hadn't had a rock show in town for a couple of years, and then Tesla got booked, and we got put on there as direct support, and they were still. Everyone was doing masks, and we didn't know. Everyone was crazy stressed out at that show. That they said that our crew couldn't walk past their crew and all this kind of thing. And we found out later that, like before they went on, obviously, that Frank had contracted COVID the day before and couldn't do the tour. So they flew in a substitute guitar player, and they had to do their entire show as a sound check because he'd never played the songs before. And then they played their set and played perfectly and sounded amazing.
They were amazing, but we're sitting there waiting to do a sound check, and everybody knows that, when you're backstage waiting to do your set and other bands are playing or whatever, at least for me, the nerves still keep going. And then we're like, okay, so and we're looking at the clock. We're like, okay, cool. Can't wait to get up there and do our sound check because we haven't been on stage in 25 years together.
Now, would you say it's nerves or more anxiousness? Because I know before when I go out, I get really anxious. Like I just want to get the hell out there and get started and get the song in and then start to hit my groove. Is that how you feel?
On the long days, yes. On the shows that have a few bands that are going before me, it's more that. It's more like, I just want to start doing the loading and getting on stage. I still have a nervous thing that I still went through this thing of, oh, they're going to judge me, I'm going to suck or whatever. Even with that first Dawkins show, I knew that there would be guitar players that like technical players, and I wasn't going to give them the George Lynch stuff. I mean, I could fake it. Some people probably think I'm like Super Shredder when they watch me play because I can do all that stuff. But the funny thing that you said that the funniest thing, the one time I was not nervous ever was that show, the biggest show we played. And it was time to go on. And the band actually had me go out first. And instead of playing an intro through the speakers, I went out and did a thing with I have a pedal that kind of sounds like violins and cellos and stuff. So they were like, you go out by yourself, start the show, hit your volume pedal and play some kind of classical sounding stuff. And then we'll go into the silent treatment. And even though I had to even do that, that was the one show I wasn't nervous. It was like, I've been working for this show like forever. I'm not going to even let the nerves really mess with me there. So it turned out to be just exactly what we had dreamt it to be, except for like the very end. The stage manager for Tesla did not let us finish, and he cut us off 3 minutes early. And
yeah, we got our last song that we were saving the best for last, and then I go to announce the last song and he's going, get the fuck off the stage, because the guy that announced us had gone over, so we didn't get started until 10 minutes later. It was almost time for them to, and it's not like it would have killed anybody had we played our last song. So that was a little bit of a bummer, but it was the only bummer the whole night. Everything else was awesome.
Correct.
Yeah, you didn't have to be a dick about it.
Yeah.
On stage. You're doing them a fucking favor,
Yeah, Tim got into it. I mean, I thought that they were going to throw down, man. He's just like
while people are waiting for us to play the next song, and I'm like talking to the guy, and then I'm looking over at my tech, and my tech grabs his phone and just holds his phone up, and it's 27 after, and we're supposed to finish at 30 after, even though the promoter said if you go 1 or 2 minutes over, it won't kill anyone if you get to that point. So we're like, okay, let's finish our last 3-minute song. And then this thing, and I'm just like, I just was like, really, dude, you're really doing this right here. Everybody's sitting there watching us, waiting for our last song. And we're in Medford where people know us and people are there to see Emissary too. So that was a bummer. And the dude was just flexing a muscle that kind of sucked. And then it ended up being actually, they played that show. That was their first night of the tour. They only played one more night. And then they all got COVID. So we're glad to have played the one of 2 nights of that tour. And so we were lucky there. But that aside from that bummer part, everything else was the merch table and the lines to get us to sign stuff and sold so much. It was a dream come true night for sure. Probably the one we had dreamt of. We had played a show earlier on back in 95 or 96, and we played with the Cherry Poppin' Daddies, and really? That was about 2,000 people too. So I think so. It was big.
Wayne knows who that is. Who is that, Wayne?
How do you explain that?
Zoot Riot. They were like a ska swing band.
I have no fucking
clue. They had
clue.
horns.
You lost me there.
Yeah,
like the Brian Setzer Orchestra type.
Oh, okay.
But they're from here, so they're like regional heroes, and this was before they broke big. So we got put on that show. It was really bizarre. This sort of thrash band, opening up for this ska swing band, and
that's kind of what I was going to ask you next about, because of the varying contrasts between, say, Tesla and you guys. I mean, it's pretty drastic. I mean, obviously rock people are rock people, but you guys are metal. They're not. I don't consider Tesla metal.
I would say that.
I mean, like that. What was your reception like?
even if we hadn't have been, you know, the hometown heroes or whatever, I think we still would have gone over well because, you know, we're melodic and, you know, we played our ballad and it's crunchy guitars. And the people that like Tesla, they're not exclusively Tesla fans.
No.
I mean, the people that like Tesla also like Metallica and Megadeth,
right.
you know, so you come out sounding a little bit something like a little bit like an Anthrax, Metallica, Megadeth or whatever, opening up for the hard rock band who, you know, has a little bit of a Dokken flavor, you know, at times or whatever. The people that were there still, I think, would have dug us either way.
Do you
and our heaviest song we didn't even play. That's the one they cut. The song Ruler of Defiance, which we were toying with opening with. We may be opening with that coming up here soon, but you know, a lot of bands like to do that fast double time song to open up, and we did not do that for that show because we knew where we were with Tesla. We did not play Chemical Hatred or Pine Box or any of that, but we were getting to do let's kick it off with Ruler, and then they kicked us off stage. So they didn't get any of our super fast stuff.
Now, do you like the labels, or does that fucking drive you nuts? Because I fucking hate being labeled by there's so many goddamn labels. Or what are you? If we were speed metal, thrash metal, fucking death metal, I fucking hate all that shit. Are you?
Because now people
hate
call
that,
you.
or
I don't, because I ran a record store for
Okay.
years. So to me, being able to tell somebody specifically what something is, I mean, if everything was just like, oh, it's all just metal or whatever, you're going to spend, you know, hours trying to find something that's perfect for your taste, you know, and you got to listen to the black metal and death metal and progressive this. And
it's not even the black metal and the death metal, and I get all that in the power metal. I get the help me out here, Wayne. You know more genres than I do. We're talking like post melodic death. I mean, come on, what the fuck is that? Seriously,
that kind of category. Yeah.
So what do you consider yourself? What is Emissary?
We say we're a cross between melodic thrash and US power metal. And if you listen to a lot of the US power metal, I would say that, you know, listen to Iced Earth or whatever. It kind of sounds like, it doesn't sound like European power metal. It has more of a Judas Priest, Metal Church, you know, Laws Rocket, Heathen, bands like that. You know, it's Metallica fused with power metal. And it's not as you know, grandiose sounding.
I guess it's more considered than traditional heavy metal.
Yeah,
new wave of traditional heavy metal is now what the new term is now for.
When we were together before, our business card said power metal on it, and it was 94. I'm talking before there was all of the, you know, whatever. I mean, Halloween was around, but you know, all the other bands that came around that were like, oh,
stuff,
yeah, that wasn't a thing yet. So we were like, hey, Metallica had power metal on their business card. You know, Pantera had an album called Power Metal, and I was a fan of that band before they were the tough guy band, you know. So to me, it was like, it meant like powerful heavy metal, you know, almost thrash. We kind of sound like a thrash band without being a million miles an hour all the time, you know.
And I think we're aware we would not, if we're playing a show with other heavy bands or just playing a show, we would not have it advertised as Emissary, a thrash band, and then a bunch of fans of Exodus comes and then they're like, wait a minute. I mean, there are a couple parts in there that were cool, but this is definitely not thrash. And I always put melodic thrash simply because that's what I think I kind of bring. But you know, it's funny. I always like the albums that everybody's like, I don't like that album because it's not heavy enough. But like Death Angel Act 3 is my favorite Death Angel album, and they, you know, there was a point they wouldn't even play anything off of that album because it was their whatever, you know. And what some people think about the Black Album, they're like, what about Master and Injustice? You know, it's not heavy enough. And but
Tim and I agree on that the thrash bands a lot of times sounded better when they played more melodic stuff.
Right.
You know,
absolutely.
like those records that a lot of people will be like, oh, the Ritual by Testament, that's the Pussy album, or I don't know, Megadeth, Cryptic Writings, or whatever. Those are fucking great records, you know. And Death Angel Act 3 or whatever, like Something Wicked by Nuclear Assault. You know, it's like when they slowed down a little bit and focused a little more on melody and a little bit more on groove and a little bit more on playing quality mid-tempo heavy metal riffs, that's when those bands I think sound the best. So that's a huge inspiration for us.
Yeah, I love the thrash, like Forbidden. I don't know if you're like fans of that band. I like stuff like that, like you guys with the melodic guitar melodies and stuff in there too. So, I mean, I love the other thrash too, the faster stuff. But my favorite is like when you got the vocals like yours is like not power metal type vocals, but not like the grunting and the growling, but like the melodic.
Yeah,
I'm using
I'll take Forbidden over Creator any day. You know, nothing against Creator or Slayer or any of that. You know, like that's fine. You know, it's just that's just not my thing at all. It's just I don't hear like the songs that I don't really care for by Metallica are like Fight Fire with Fire, and the songs that are just it's like, you know, I'll take the slower, so I'll take For Whom the Bell Tolls over Fight Fire with Fire. You know what I mean? I'll take Seek and Destroy over Metal Militia.
This is a man that fucking gets it.
That's right.
Fucking get it, dude. That's what I'm talking about.
Yeah, I mean, it's fun to flex your muscle, and I like only the heavy stuff, but it's like Eye of the Beholder. I think the riff from Eye of the Beholder is the one, like right when they get into that, you cannot move. You cannot not go. Dude, you cannot not do that. And that's what I want people to do when I write, you know, with silent treatment. Dun, 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 dun. That's what moves me the most. Not the, you know, add some fast stuff here and there to just bring up the energy. But when it's all that, it's like, okay, I mean, you know, and then you get into are you trying to be speed metal? Or I like our hodgepodge, and I'm fine with other people labeling us. You know, we have some that, I mean, that's kind of where we're coming up with some of the stuff is people are saying, you know, this is kind of what you sound like, but we get it all over the spectrum from Slayer to Queensryche. You know, you guys sound kind of like Queensryche, and I'm just like, well, I mean, I'm glad you hear that hidden in there somewhere, because I am influenced by that. But our label has put, I think they're putting for fans of Heathen, Power Mad, and Metal Church.
Well, I like,
and I'm a huge Metal Church guy, so
I'm a huge Power Mad fan.
Yeah,
hell yeah, dude. You listen to Power Mad?
I like Nice Dreams. You know, I mean, that record was pretty cool.
Fuck it, they're a great fucking band.
We still have to do that show you wanted to do.
We do have to do that.
I didn't forget.
Okay.
What show?
He since he likes Power Mad, he wanted to do one of the albums.
Album versus album.
Yeah. I'll watch that.
What was the other album you wanted to do? Power Mad versus what?
Oh, I don't remember. That was a long time. That was like 2 years ago.
Noggle always argues with me about something. So
yeah, I'm sure he'll have something. We have actually we've got a lot of people in here. Well, not too many, 6, but that's good for us. I guess your guitarist Charlie is either still here or was here. He says your stage manager was the only one screaming for us to get off the stage, and the crowd was so supportive.
Yeah.
And he also says Emissary is his favorite band of all time.
That
he's not biased.
He gets to be in his favorite band. That's cool.
Right? That doesn't suck.
But thanks for everybody for watching. Let's see, I had some things here too. So you guys were featured in a book at one point, two decades later after you guys disbanded in '96. And then you guys got back together. I mean, was it because of like you saw people were taking interest in your band? Why did you guys get back together? Was it because of that, or
partially?
Well, that kind of launched us. So I was playing in a band called Cruella. I don't know if you know that band. I was in that band for about 8 months, and we played Northwest Metal Fest with Wild Dogs and The Accused and Q5, and had a great time with that, and played a show with YNT. The Heaven and Hell Records had just reissued the Cruella albums, and they were getting offered, hey, if you can get the old band back together, we can do some fun stuff, some festivals or whatever. They got everybody back together, but the original singer was like, I'm not even a singer anymore. I don't want anything to do with this, you know. So I'd worked with them in the past on a reissue back in the 90s, and they knew me, and they said, well, you know, if there's one guy that will be able to deliver the songs from Vengeance Is Mine. It's Jim Harris. So I got the call, joined that band, and through that band, I met a guy named James Beach, who owns Northwest Metalworks. He's one of the owners, and they were putting this book together about the heavy music scene in the Pacific Northwest from 1970 to 95 or whatever. The book was almost finished. What's that? Yeah.
So you guys
and
just made it in there.
We had played in 94 in Portland a couple times, and James messages me and he said, and he just goes, "Did you guys ever play up here in the Portland area? Because we're from Southern Oregon, so it's kind of a little bit, we're almost in California. It's 5-hour drive to Portland." So I said, "Yeah, we played the Rock on Broadway, or the Rock on Broadway. That's where we played in San Francisco.
Yeah.
The Roseland. Yeah, we played the Roseland a couple times." He says, "Do you have any flyers or any tickets or any of that?" And I said, "Yeah, I got some pictures and all that." He goes, "If you can prove that you were playing the Pacific Northwest scene before 95, you guys deserve a place in this book." So I sent him a bio and photos and all this kind of thing. Didn't even know if we were getting in. And then the book came out, and our bass player, Peter Sean Kinney, gets it and opens it up, and there's a picture of us in there. It's not just our bio and discography and all that. There's a photo, and they didn't put a photo of everybody in there. They felt that we were important enough to stick our band photo in there. So that was kind of shocking, and that was one of those things where then people just started talking. It just, one thing leads to another. Like I posted on Facebook, "Hey, we got in this book," or whatever, and that was when we started talking about, like, "Hey, what if we got back together and maybe gave this another shot?" Because those demos that we did on our new album, there's a bonus disc, like if you get the deluxe edition, and it's all of our old demos remastered. They're cool, but we're just so much better now. And we thought, what if we went back in the studio and actually really re-recorded these and made the songs sound the way they probably should have the first time. So we hired a producer named Doug Hill, who's worked with bands, all kinds of modern metal bands like Mastodon and Neurosis and Helmet. Agreed. He hit me up and said, I'd like to mix the new record. So went in the studio with him and re-recorded a bunch of the old demos and put Hypochondriac on there, a song that we had started writing when the band broke up the first time, because we broke up essentially because of grunge. It was 96 and we're in the Pacific Northwest, and nobody wanted to book an old school classic power metal band. They were like, "Oh, you guys do guitar solos? Yeah, never mind."
No, aggressive rock.
Yeah, they weren't even calling metal, like at metal shows were called aggressive rock shows. They weren't even using the word metal. Really? Wow. So we would send the press kit out, the glossy and a demo and all that, and they'd hear us and go, "Yeah, this isn't going to work," And we were getting booked with bands that sounded like Jane's Addiction and Smashing Pumpkins and Nirvana and all this kind of stuff. And the writing was on the wall, like, okay, we got to either buy into this and become, one of these wallet chain bands, which we, a lot of bands sort of fell into that trap, and we did for a little while, and until the point where we realized, it's just not even, we've lost our identity, and all these years later, we all went off and did our own thing. And then suddenly the new wave of traditional heavy metal comes back, and I'm doing Silent Storm, and that the book comes out, and next thing you know, I'm getting emails saying, "Hey, what about Emissary?" So we decided to put it back together and give it a go. 25 years later, like Tim was saying, we hadn't stepped on the stage together in 25 years.
Wow. So was it easy for you guys to remember those old demo songs, or did you really have to take a long time to go back and relearn that, or how'd that?
For me, out? They're imprinted in my DNA. You know what I mean? I may have played those songs a long time ago, but I've listened to them a lot over the years, and it's I'll never forget the lyrics or whatever to those songs. And I think Tim's the same way. It's just like he probably didn't even have to practice. He just picked up a guitar and was like, "Oh yeah, I remember how to play that."
That true?
Correct.
Is that true?
Even practicing it, throughout my life, I would, play those old songs, because I hate calling them old songs, but play those songs because I like them. I always still, I had one CD, one really gross looking old CD that was like peeling, that had 3 of our songs on it. That I got back then when they gave us a master CD thing, and it was always in one of my cars, and I would always every once in a while listen to it. So it was for me. Yeah, I probably within a day. If somebody said tomorrow night you have to play an Emissary set without playing for so long, I would have been able to do that. So
it was originally our drummer Eric Hoover who played on that first demo. He was the one that kind of started the talk about, like, hey, I'm such a better drummer now. I'd really like to re-record that stuff, and play to a click track and actually play that stuff well. And when he gave us the idea, it was all just like a perfect storm. Like my other band was folding, and the new wave traditional heavy metal thing was rising up, and the book comes out, and he says, hey, I'd like to maybe do a reunion show. It all just fell into place.
Yeah. Well, that brings
it was
us
the right time.
That brings us to the actual album, The Wretched Masquerade. Did you maybe want to go back and make new songs, or did you really just want to stick with these demo songs?
At first, we started writing new material when we actually have some newer material written. But as we started re-recording the old stuff, I think it became aware to everybody that, what, let's just have this record be essentially, the old material recorded properly. And again, like I said, Hypochondriac was something that we started. It was a song that was never really finished. It was the first thing I wanted. It was like, hey, let's finish that song. That'd be like a bridge to this new material. We wrote a couple songs, finished a couple of new songs. And as we were demoing it, we just said, you know what? Tim was like, let's keep it 8 songs. He's like, Master of Puppet.
Oh, he froze on my end.
Jim.
Froze a little bit.
There you're back now. Oh, he's froze again.
Weird face.
Yeah. Anyway, he was saying that I had said Master of Puppets, Ride the Lightning, some of the, and I know those are heavier than we are a little bit, but I was just like, I like those albums. Let's give them, I don't like the term leave wanting more, but kind of let's feed them an 8-course meal. And at the end, they're wiping their face saying, that was awesome. I can't wait to come back to this restaurant and, have that again. 10 songs. Yeah. We didn't want to mix the old with the new. So the new stuff, Jim and I started writing again, and we do plan on, when things calm down after we tour and stuff, our plan is to do the follow-up.
Yeah.
I gave Tim a hard time about his connection, and then I'm the one that lost connection.
Yeah. And you had a
your
weird
face
too. It was
your
funny.
face froze up so fucking gnarly. It was awesome.
Yeah, I'll use that for the YouTube.
Picture. Definitely. Except for that's it for sure.
But listening to the demos. Well, go ahead.
Oh, I'm sorry.
It's your show.
It's your show. It's your show. I'm just helping out.
Right.
I'm your color man tonight.
Give me
But I just wanted to say to Jim and Tim, I love that song Hypochondriac. The fucking the chorus is nice and catchy, and it's cool. Just cool riff. Your video for it was awesome. I know me and Jim talked about that before it was officially released. It came out really well. So just want to compliment you guys on that. Whoever did the camera work on it was on it.
Yeah.
Yeah, we like the video, and and it's one of those songs that I always say that it doesn't matter where the song starts, like who it starts with. That was a song, like I wrote the basic structure of it and then gave it to Tim, and he added all these Timisms, and added things to, put jewelry on it or whatever, added these little guitar flourishes and changed the picking pattern on some things and made it sound more like him. And next thing you know, it, and he's got his vocals in there where I say, what is it, Tim? What's the vocal? It's I'm still alive. I'm still alive. And his voice comes in, to where now, okay, that sounds like Emissary.
Yeah.
Go ahead, Wayne.
I was listening. Are you sure?
It's your show. I actually need to step out soon, but go ahead.
Yeah, no, we're finishing up soon. Actually, we're getting to almost 10 o'clock. So I was listening to the demos, and yeah, they do sound good, but I'm glad that you did re-record them, because it gave those songs a new life. And
I agree 100%.
Yeah, they sound awesome now. So it's, a brand new start pretty much with this album. And yeah, it came out really good. I really like it. And hopefully the next one will be even better, because you'll have new songs that nobody's ever heard before.
Definitely.
And then I was also reading you had Claudius Creamer on one of the demo songs. How did that come about?
No,
Actually, he's on the album.
He's on the album. Oh, I read the thing.
Yeah.
But he's on the album.
Yeah.
All right.
On Ruler of Defiance, he does the I kind of wanted him to. I was like, first of all, I mean, there's nothing wrong with getting a guest on there that is part of a band that, again, I grew up in the Bay Area. So Possessed was Seven Churches and Larry Lalonde back then, and they were just a big deal to me, and I had seen them so many times, and they were definitely the heavier of all of those bands, but still definitely loved them. I loved their logo. I thought I get into, whatever it is, the aesthetic, just, so we were talking about it, and I knew Jim knew him, and I said, what if we get him to guest, and he said he would do it. And then I was like, he's so good that I would love just some kind of an iconic, just super, just fast ripping, impressive solo there. Not thinking about I would have to emulate it live ever. I was like, let's no, I'll just go back.
We'd give that to Charlie.
Well, and then I give it to Charlie, of course, because Charlie can pull that off. But yeah, it was really cool, and we gave him an area, and then he kind of went over the area, and we were like, awesome. Like Jim might have thought that, Tim might not like that he went past the part Tim gave him, but it was like so good. We're like, no, go. And then I would do I'd harmonize to that as we're coming out. So I do the beginning solo and then the outro stuff. But when Claudius comes in, you could tell, and it's just like, and he did it. It doesn't hurt to be able to say in your press that you had somebody from Possessed on your album. So
Yeah,
Sure doesn't.
Not at all.
Speaking
The
of
original version of that song too, that's guitar solo
we had
was a guest spot to begin with. Our producer Chuck Rosa, who was he produced Laws Rocket, No Stranger to Danger, and Abattoir, The Only Safe Place, and he produced the first LA Guns record, and all this stuff that we were just stoked to have this this star producer
Rockstar
working with us when we were we were fucking kids and didn't know what we were doing, and he'd worked with all these bands on Metal Blade and all this. So when that part of that solo came up, Tim gave Chuck the solo and was like, hey, you want to play a solo on that? So that section was always kind of like a spot for a guest guitar player during that moment. So when we went to re-record it, Tim goes, Claudius, right? And I was like, yeah, I can hit him up and see if he'd do it. And I was like, hey man, how much would you charge us to put a solo on that? He goes, fucking send me the song. The next thing you know, he said, yeah, he sends this brilliant, ripping, shredding solo back, and we're just like, yeah, that's going on. That's going on the song.
Speaking of guests on albums, me and you, Jim,
I was just gonna ask that. I was gonna maybe the next one
collab here coming up, maybe.
Oh yeah, let's do it.
We got to. I think we're going to.
I think that'd be really cool.
Well,
actually,
you can have me on a Timeless Haunt song. I'll have you on an Emissary song.
Either or. I'd be into that. I'll only charge you $200.
Oh,
Really? Only?
What a deal.
hope we make $200 on this tour.
Yeah.
Let's start saving now.
Yeah.
Start saving now.
Now, the Wretched Masquerade is only available right now digital. When is the physical release coming? Do you know?
We've been saying that it's May 27th just to put a date on it, but it might be before that, depending on, it's one of those things where the pressing plant, blah, 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 the label has to get it back, and then they have to mail it to us from Germany. So we stuck that May 27 date on it just to give it kind of an official release date, but we're hoping, we're fingers crossed that we have them in hand before we hit the road at the beginning of May.
Yeah.
Hey, are you guys still planning on doing that metal fest out in was it not Maine, Massachusetts?
No, we're doing Legions of Metal in Chicago.
Okay.
And we did get sent that Stormbringer, was it?
Yeah.
And we didn't even apply because it was one of those things where it was like we weren't going to be able to. It was too far out from our plan. We all live in different places. Our drummer lives in Alaska, and so we all have to fly in and the tour bus and the cost. We would have been done with our tour, and then it would have been like, okay, now let's all fly in again to do this one fest, and we wouldn't have been able to book anything around it. So that was something that wasn't going to happen. But we're hoping, like, maybe next year we get offered some stuff, and we're able to put it together.
Sweet.
Yeah, definitely want to do some of those. I mean, we were hoping after the album's finally released and it gets out there that we can, knock on some doors, for some bigger fests. But last year we played 3 shows, and this year we're playing 1, 2, 3, 4, like 5 shows officially. But and then we're going from Chicago, and then we have kind of a week off, and then back up on the West Coast in Oregon, and getting to open up for Stephen Pearcy. And I was a big Rat fan, so that's kind of like our Tesla from last year.
Nice.
And when they called us and said, "Hey, you guys want to do it again this year?" and we're like, "Do it." And then they were talking about the bands that could possibly be Ace Frehley, and then I was like, please get Ace. And then it was like Wolfgang Van Halen, Mammoth, maybe Mammoth. And I was like, I like that idea because he's just modern and he's getting a lot of fans, but I don't know how many fans he would have, in the Medford, Oregon area or Grants Pass. And then when they said Pearcy, I was like, that was like, because again, Rat was like, that was it in the 80s. That was probably the band I listened to the most. The first 3 albums, there's not a bad song anywhere on there. And
on Legions, we get to play with Riot.
And Riot, yeah. Now Riot.
And Nasty Savage.
Nasty Savage, which, by the way, is part of the Siren documentary, the band Siren. And that's actually the documentary about the band Siren called I'm Too Old for This Shit. It's on tonight on Access TV. So if you have like DirecTV or whatever, it's on tonight. I think it's funny because I was talking to those guys today because I posted, hey, go watch their national TV debut, go watch it. And then they came and liked it. And then they liked our stuff for this interview. So it's cool. And then
they're label mates. They're on the same label.
Yeah.
All right.
But yeah, go check out but in that movie, they talk about the band Nasty Savage, and they played with them like a warm-up show, and they had played with them. Siren and Nasty Savage had played together plenty of times before. So it was really cool because I got into that movie, and then I became kind of associates with the guys in Siren, and now Nasty Savage joined the festival. So it's one of those kind of things that just align when you're just like, things are going well for you. It's like, that's awesome. It was going to be the band Vane, and I would have been excited because I'm from the Bay Area. And then the Rods, I didn't know it was the actual Rods that I had known of a long time ago. I just saw the logo. I was like, oh, a band called the Rods. But then I was like, wait, that's the other Rods. So I was excited, but then they pulled off. A lot of, during the COVID stuff, a lot of bands are getting on and pulling off, and it's tough for people.
Fifth Angel just canceled just yesterday. Fifth Angel was supposed to be playing it, and they're a Pacific Northwest band.
Oh, they did, yes.
Yeah.
We just had Carl Kennedy from the Rods on maybe a month or 2 ago.
Oh, right on.
Guy. Yeah.
Great band.
But to finish up here, you guys also have a GoFundMe. Tell us about that to support your tour.
Yeah.
We
struggle with that.
I could imagine everybody struggle. I tried to do a GoFundMe for a friend. It was for a good cause because his mother needed some help, and it's hard to do a GoFundMe. But
people come at you and they're like,
right,
you guys are going living the rock star life and you want me to pay for it? Trust me, we're not living the rock star life. We're living the rock life. We're trying to live the star life later, but we're going to be way behind when we're done with the tour, but we have to go tour. We just put out an album, and by no means are we, man, it's so tough. We choose to do this, and it's fucking awesome to be able to go play in front of one person. So we're not complaining about that. But with the state of diesel and just the cost of everything in this world, and we had the Chicago, the Legions Fest set up before all this stuff happened, before all the gas prices went up, and over about a year ago. Well, Jim was on it over a year ago, and it was about a year ago that we switched it from Silent Storm to Emissary being on that. So you know, we want to still go do it. We want to go play, man. It's tough to not play. If you put out an album, you want to go play. So we put the GoFundMe there, and Jim and I talked about it for probably a while. Are we going to do it? Aren't we going to do it? We don't want to be looked at this way. And then we were just like, you know what? Enough other bands have done it to where we're like, we'll give it a shot. The worst thing that can happen is somebody won't give us some money, and we, you know, whatever. And it's going to definitely ease some of the pain of all the logistics that go along with touring. The actual playing and being on the road together is not something that is tough to do at all, even if it does cost money. But to offset some costs here and there, we did the GoFundMe, and we appreciate everybody that's gone to it and helped support us.
Yeah, where can people go to find that? Is there
Jim, I maybe one of us will go into the comments and put that in there. I can't even think.
Cool. But it's on your Facebook, right?
Yeah, they can go to our Facebook page too.
Yeah, I don't know. It's a link where it's like GoFund,
right.
.me and then 321B79 whatever, you know.
But it's on your Facebook. And what is your Facebook so they can find that at least?
So it's facebook.com. Hold on, Emissary Metal Band, is that right?
I don't know.
Well, I should know this.
Christ. Well, how
Emissary Metal Band. But everything else is the original Emissary, like on Instagram and all that. So, but yeah, facebook.com/Emissary Metal Band.
Emissary Metal
I'm
Band.
glad I'm not
Very
the only band that's unprofessional.
Good.
Oh no.
We take pride.
He doesn't even know what label. He doesn't even know what label he's on.
It's more fun that way. And you don't give a fuck.
Pretty much. And you guys have a website or anything too? You have Emissary website or
not yet? No, we don't actually have a landing page yet. That is coming. We just hadn't done that yet.
We're on Bandcamp though, and that's also under the the original original Emissary, I think, or if you type in the original Emissary, it'll come up. So
it's confusing because there's like millions of Emissary bands out there, which I've never realized before.
Really, I didn't know that either.
If you go on
some of them aren't even metal bands,
right?
Yeah.
So it's very confusing.
But yeah, we have a YouTube channel and all that now. So yeah, everything that you can imagine that we hooked up through a company called DistroKid, and they put us on all of the we're on Spotify and iTunes and Apple Music and
we do
all
that too. Yeah, it's smart.
Yeah, I the other day just for fun I Shazammed one of our songs and it worked. I was like, oh my God, that's so cool. I'm Shazammable now, so that's making it.
That's the name of the next record, Shazamable.
Thank you.
Calling it right now.
That's optimism.
Wayne, unknown. Dude, thank you guys so much for having us.
Yes, no problem. I've wanted to get you guys on the show for a while now, so thank you for coming on.
And also, I need to tell you that Lisa Mann says hello.
Oh, thanks.
Yeah. Lisa Mann says hello?
Yeah.
Yes, I told her we were on tonight, and she said, okay, tell Wayne I said hi. And she said, tell the unknown he can fuck off. No, she didn't.
I believe
she probably did say that.
No, she didn't.
I was going to say she probably did say that.
She's probably watching right now, but I didn't say that.
Well, we're saying she did. But yes, thank you for coming on the show. And I wish you guys all the luck. And I will be buying a copy of your album. Actually, maybe we'll trade albums. I'll give you my album. You give me yours.
Yes, let's do that.
Awesome.
Yeah, yours is called Project Resurrect.
Project Resurrect, yeah.
Is that right?
No, Resurrect. No, Resurrect.
Project Resurrect.
Yeah.
Trades.
Yes.
So
trades are good.
Yeah, exactly.
I'll be cranking that as soon as we're done here.
Cool.
Yep.
Thank you very much for coming on the show. And we will see you guys, I think, next week. I don't know what we're doing, but ratsailreview.com, timelesshaunt.com, right?
You got it. It's easy.
It's easy. And the original Emissary. Oh my God, I'm tired. Emissary.
Okay.
Get some sleep, Wayne.
Yeah, I am going to get some sleep.
My
voice is shot. All right, guys. Thank you very much for coming on the show.
Guys.
We will see
Great
you guys.
meeting you guys. Tim, I'm going to hit you up on Facebook, man.
Please do, brother. I appreciate
Yes, sir.
that. Nice meeting you guys.
You too. See you, Jimmy.